to the AI Cafe Conversations. I am Sahar Andrade, a neuroleadership coach and your host. This is the Forbes article-like edition, short, precise, built to answer one burning question with science and depth. Today's question came to me 3 separate times in 1 week. Different people, different industry, different levels of seniority, but the same exact story underneath all 3. A major announcement arrived, a restructuring, a workforce reduction, and somewhere in the all-hands meeting or the press release or the manager communication that followed, this phrase appears. As we adapt to an AI-driven future, certain positions are no longer part of our organizational structure. The leaders who sent those messages believed they were being transparent. They believed they were contextualizing a difficult decision with honest business reasoning. What they did not know is that what that sentence did inside the brains of every person who was still employed after the announcement was made. Here is what nobody in the room said out loud, and what your leadership team needs to hear before it crafts the next communication. You just told your remaining team that AI is coming for them next. You did not mean to. The sentence was not written to communicate that, but the brain does not process announcements through their intended meaning. The brain processes them through its threat detection system, and the threat detection system heard exactly what I just said. Let me show you the neuroscience of what happened, and then let me show you what regulated leaders do differently. Trust is not a value, it's a biological state. I want to start with something fundamental, because once you understand this, it changes every communication decision you make as a leader. Trust is not built through mission statements. It's not sustained through value posters or town halls or brown bag lunches or employee appreciations events. Though none of those things are harmful, trust is a nervous system state. Neuroscience research published earlier this year puts it plainly. The brain continuously asks one question inside every professional environment. Am I safe here? When the answer is yes, the prefrontal cortex stays online. People think clearly. They take initiative. They give you their best work. They raise concerns before they become crises. They stay. When the answer shifts, even subtly, even temporarily, everything changes, and it changes in ways that are not always visible to leadership until the damage is already done. Here is the neurological sequence that unfolds when an employee reads layoff announcement that names AI as the reason. First, the amygdala fires. This is the brain's threat detection center. It does not evaluate the strategic logic of the announcement. It does not weigh the business case. It classifies the input, safe or threat. And it classifies it in milliseconds before the conscious mind has finished reading this sentence. AI caused my colleague to lose their job. Classification, threat. Second, the stress response activates. Cortisol, the stress hormone, rises. Cognitive bandwidth narrows. The brain enters a mode designed for survival, not for performance, not for learning, not for collaboration. Third, and this is the part that has the longest lasting organizational consequence. Every subsequent AI announcement from leadership now arrives pre-tagged in that person's nervous system as a potential threat. The association has been made. You cannot undo it with a more optimistic message next quarter. You can train it away. You have to do the more difficult, slower work of rebuilding the neurological sense of safety. And that work starts with leadership behavior, not leadership communication. What happens to discretionary effort? Let me translate this into business impact, because the science only matters if it connects to what you are actually accountable for. Psychological safety. the condition where people feel safe enough to take risks, voice concerns, share ideas, and bring genuine effort, increases team learning behavior by 35%, increases team performance by 27%. That is from Google's Project Aristotle. Not a small study, one of the most comprehensive organizational research projects ever conducted. When you remove that safety, you don't just get less engagement. You get a specific kind of withdrawal that is difficult to detect and very difficult to reverse. I need to remind you that psychological safety is not a virtue only, is not a value only, is not something that you write on a website or you send in an email. It's a feeling, it's an emotion that your people have to feel, regardless of what you say. It's an emotion that needs to be felt. So people will still show up, they still complete their assigned tasks, they meet the minimum, but they stop going beyond it. They stop telling you what's actually going wrong before it becomes a visible problem. They stop bringing the ideas that do not have guaranteed outcomes. They stop advocating for solutions that require courage to respond or propose. They become what I call compliance workers. They are physically present, they are technically productive, and they are not giving you what they're actually capable of. And then comes the departure. The people who leave first when trust breaks are not the people who were struggling. They are your strongest performers. The ones who have options and know it. The ones who were carrying disproportionate organizational weight. The ones who exit creates a much larger hole than their headcount would suggest. 2,221 US CEO departures happened in 2024, a record. This was done by Challengers, Gray, and Christmas. Leadership instability at the top creates nervous system instability that cascades down every level of the organization. When AI is layered into that instability without careful, regulated communication, you are not managing one challenge. You are stacking threat responses. So the pattern executives are not seeing is this. Performative AI adoption is a leadership tell. There is a behavior pattern spreading through executive circles right now. I'm going to name it clearly because your team is already naming it, even if they're not saying it to your face. Some leaders are competing on AI vanity metrics. How many tools deployed, how fast the rollout happened, how much AI code shipped this quarter. The announcements are bold. The slide decks are impressive. And the teams watching those announcements feel two things distinctively: the pressure and the dishonesty. No authenticity. Because the people on the ground know either AI is actually helping them work better or not, they know whether the tool that was mandated 6 months ago has made their day easier or harder. And when leadership is publicly celebrating adoption rates while the people doing the work are privately managing the friction, the trust gap widens. Only 47% of employees actually save time using approved AI tools. That is from Kelly Services survey of more than 600 responses. 80% of executives admit AI implementation is stalling because teams lack the expertise to use it effectively, also done by Kelly Services. These two statistics describe an organization where leadership is living in one reality and employees are living in another. La La Land, anyone? And the announcement that uses AI as the justification for a layoff is the moment when that gap between those realities becomes impossible to pretend that it doesn't exist. Because now employees are watching whether the AI that is being celebrated is also the reason their colleague is gone and maybe them in the future. That is not a communication challenge. That is a trust rupture. And that trust ruptures at that level do not heal through better messaging. The question every executive should ask before the announcement, before any communication that connects AI to workforce decisions. Regulated leaders ask one question that most leadership teams never think to ask. What will my team's brain hear when I say this? Not, is this information accurate? It might be completely accurate. Not, is this legally appropriate? Your legal team has reviewed it. The question is, what does the nervous system hear when this arrives? Because your team is not processing your press release through their prefrontal cortex in the moment it arrives. The announcement comes in, the amygdala fires first, and the classification happens before the reasoning begins. Your careful, considered, legally reviewed language is being received by a survival brain that is asking one question: am I next? And the sentence, as we adapt to an AI-driven future, certain positions are no longer needed, does not answer that question. It amplifies it. This is not a communication problem. It's a sequencing problem. And sequencing is something that can be fixed. So what regulated leaders do differently? It is not what you say, it's the order you say it in. I'm not suggesting that difficult truth to be hidden or softened. Transparency, of course, is a trust builder. The leaders I most respect are honest about hard things. The difference between a regulated leader and a dysregulated one is not whether they tell the truth, it's the order they tell it in. Regulated leaders answer the nervous system question before they deliver the vision. They acknowledge what's in the room before they introduce what leadership is planning. They create as much certainty as they possibly can before they ask people to tolerate what they cannot yet know. Here is the practical illustration of what this sounds like. Unregulated version. We are evolving our workforce structure to align with AI capabilities. Some roles may have been impacted or will be impacted as part of this transition. We remain committed to our people and will provide support resources for affected employees. Now, the regulated version, I want to start by addressing what I know you are thinking, because you deserve that before anything else. We made a decision to reduce headcount in certain areas. I'm going to be direct about why and why it does and does not mean for the rest of the organization. And I am going to stay in this room as long as it takes to answer your questions honestly. The regulation version is not softer, it's more direct. The difference is that it leads with the nervous system question instead of avoiding it. Safety first, vision second. The brain cannot receive a vision when it's scanning for its own survival. Your people are watching your body, not your words. Here is the last piece of neuroscience I want to leave you with, because it may be the most practically important thing I say today. Research is consistent on this. Employees track the leader's nervous system state before they process the leader's words. Your pace, your tone, your eye contact, the way you hold yourself in the room, all of that reaches the amygdala before your sentences do. So if you are delivering a difficult message about AI and workforce change from a dysregulated state, from urgency or anxiety, or the kind of performance calm that is held together by effort rather than regulation, your team will feel that first. No amount of carefully chosen words will override what your body is communicating. The most powerful preparation for a difficult leadership conversation is not rehearsing the messaging. It is regulating your own nervous system before you walk into the room. Because a regulated leader creates co-regulation, and a co-regulated room can hear difficult truth without shutting down. That is what the neuroscience of trust-based leadership looks like in practice. Not soft, not slow, not avoiding hard conversations, leading them from a regulated place so the people receiving them can actually metabolize what they are hearing. If today's episode reached you, here is what I want you to go next. If you are a leader who is navigating AI-driven workforce change right now, or who is about to make an announcement that will land in people's nervous system before they land in their minds, I want to have a direct conversation with you. Book a leadership clarity call. The link is in the description. 30 minutes, no pitch, just clarity on what is happening in your organization nervous system and what to do about it. And if you want to start by understanding where your organizational trust and readiness gaps currently sit, take the free Shadow AI assessment. Again, the link is in the description. It surfaces the biology before it becomes a business crisis. I'm Sahar Andrade, your AI whisperer. You have been listening to AI Cafe Conversation, the Forbes article-like edition. I will see you Wednesday for a deeper conversation on why AI mandates are failing at the nervous system level and what regulation first leadership looks like inside an organization that is ready to do it differently. Like I always say, show me some love. Like, save, subscribe, leave us a comment. All that helps us reach a bigger audience, and we really need it. So I really appreciate your help and your support in this. Till I see you on Wednesday, peace out.
1